Welcome aboard. I'm Ted Everingham, and this is Great Lakes Log from WMTV at the Grosse Pointe War Memorial. Last March, we introduced you to a two-week sailing program called Challenge the Wind. It was formed in 1994 to help young people learn to sail and about water safety and to appreciate the marine environment that we all enjoy here. So I thought we'd have some people back to tell us how things have gone since then and to look ahead to the time beyond this year. So back with us this time as the president and a director of the program, Harry Jones.
Thank you,
Harry,
Ted.
thanks. Welcome back.
Well, thank you, Ted. Good to be here.
And you brought along Adrienne Thomas.
Adrienne Thomas.
How are you, Adrienne?
Good, you?
We're gonna talk about your experience in just a little bit with the Challenge the Wind program. We had a chance to talk a few minutes ago, and I know you're pretty excited about it.
Yes, very excited.
Made a big difference in your life?
Definitely.
Okay. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but Harry, let's talk about the 2014 season. What was new, what was good, what was bad?
Oh, great. Well, we had a great year, better than last year. We had an increase in number of students. We were up to 16 students, so we're well on our way to our long-term plan of continually increasing the students. We added an additional Flying Scot, and we added an additional instructor this year. Some of the infrastructure things that really made the program a lot smoother when Adrienne went through it is we had a nice storage trailer that we can keep right there on site. So rather than have all of the stuff in my garage and putting it in the car and carting it down to Keens Marina every morning, we had everything there ready to be set up. And the other really nice feature that we had this year was Keens Marina donated a large 20 by 20 tent that we could use as our permanent classroom that stayed up during the entire time we were running the class. So it really made it a lot easier for us to accomplish our key objective, which is get the kids out on the water as much as possible and out of the classroom on the water actually sailing. So we had a great year.
Good. 16 students, that's an all-time high?
That's an all-time high for us, yes, yes. We've started small. We're continuing to grow as we continue to work on we've got a 10-year plan that we started in 2012 that we started with two boats. This year, two Scots. This year we're up to 4 Scots, and we added a small O-Day sailor that we could use for the capsize exercise, as well as let some of the more adventurous students go out and sail it on their own.
Yeah.
2 people on the boat is probably more than enough. So it was a lot of fun to do that. So we're constantly working towards increasing the program and making it available so more students.
Couple little things to orient those who aren't quite as into this as you and I are. Flying Scot is a 19-foot sailboat.
Right.
Sloop rigged, which means it has a front sail, we call a jib, and a mainsail.
Exactly.
Pretty big sail plan, and you can put, what, 4 or 5?
Yeah, what's nice about the Scots is that they're very forgiving. They have a nice sized cockpit, so we'll typically have 3 or 4 students and an instructor in each boat. We've gone as many as 5 students in a boat at a time. It gets a little bit busy,
right.
but 3 or 4 gives everyone an assignment. Sailing's a team sport. Scots like at least 2 people, preferably 3 or 4 people, 3 people to sail them if you're going to use all of the resources that the Scot provides you. So each student has an assignment and they rotate them.
And you have 4 of those now.
We have 4 of them.
And you mentioned Keens Marina. This is the headquarters for the program.
Where the program runs, yes.
And that's at the foot of Meadowbrook in
Right.
Detroit,
Right.
on the river, roughly right across from the Detroit Yacht Club.
Exactly.
Okay.
We can where we dock the boats. When we come out, we frequently are out on the water, while the Detroit Yacht Club's students are out on the water
Sure.
in their Scots and Opties.
Adrienne, let's talk about you. Where do you go to school?
I go to school at Cass Tech.
What year?
2015.
So you're a senior.
Yes,
My
graduating
goodness.
this year.
You like Cass Tech?
Yes, it's definitely.
You told me earlier
Great
you
school.
kind of came in midstream as a sophomore.
Yeah, it was an interesting experience because I didn't get the introduction the other students got the
Sure.
previous year. And you kind of start off on a new page.
So when were you in the Challenge the Wind program?
My 8th grade year and my freshman year, which was 2009 and 2010.
How did you hear about the program to begin with?
That's quite interesting. It started off by my dad having a conversation with someone at a camera shop. And then we started
camera
talking.
shop?
Yes.
Not a boatyard?
No.
Okay.
A camera shop. And then from there, the conversation went to, how about you come down with your family and then we start introducing you to boats and water, because we always grew up, or I always grew up, and my parents always lived right off the Detroit River, but we never were on the water. And so we came down, and then I started taking individual courses, maybe after school, 6, 7 o'clock at night, and then slowly I came into the Challenge to Win program.
How long did it take you to get really hooked on this sport?
Not long. It took a day. The first day, I was like, this is interesting.
So you never sailed before?
No,
Had you spent much time on the water at all?
no, not
None?
at all. Nope, first time. Like, maybe we go to Belle Isle or we sit off the pier at Mount Elliott and just watch the water, but that was it.
Yeah. Is it something you always kind of wanted to do?
No, I had absolutely no idea. It was an eye-opening experience to learn sailing, and I was like, this is possible? Because you always see it on the movies, or you always see people talking about it and the different stories that get the headlines, like off the coast of Florida, a shark comes up to the boat or something. But you never really thought, oh, I could be on the water doing this.
Were you apprehensive at first? Was you thought about this before you ever got in the water? Were you kind of nervous? How'd you feel?
I was pretty excited because I always liked water, you know, watching it or going swimming when you go to the beach or something. But being in the boat on the water, it was a bit different. At first you're like, how do I do this? And you're very curious. But then slowly I was like, this is what I wanted to do. And then slowly just.
It's kind of fun to learn about the physics, how a boat actually goes forward.
Yes, especially with the resistance. I remember my favorite lesson with the sail club was learning about wind resistance versus water resistance. And especially because the Detroit River has current, the dynamics are like 10 times different because of the current alone.
Right. When you start to sail across to the Detroit Yacht Club, you may end up down at the bathing beach.
Yeah.
Right. Because of that current, which is always there. And soon you learn where it's stronger and where it's weaker,
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yeah. What were your instructors like?
At first, we began a little bit slow pace to warm everybody up because, like me, a lot of us were new to water experiences with boats. And so we were like, okay. So we learned the basics and the logistics, which provided a wonderful foundation for what I went on to do. And the foundation was really key because I learned throughout years of experience that other people didn't have the foundation that I had through this program. And so slowly we began to progress, and then as we progressed, it was like, okay, I think I can do this confidently.
It's building blocks, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
You found that. Did you make some new friends?
Yes.
Friends that are still friends?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't just a summer friendship?
Yes. Armani, at first we started out in the program in '09, and then it was kind of like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure I'll see you next year or maybe the year after that if you come back to the program. And then slowly she came to Cass as well. So then I started to not only sail with her, but I began to row with her, and then we just built a friendship.
Whoa. Row?
Yes.
You also row.
Yes.
Where do you row?
Detroit Women's Rowing Association.
And how long have you been doing that?
5 years. Right after I started with the program here, my best friend, Tessa, she was like, you got to do this because a lady came to school. And I'm like, well, where is it? And she's like, it's right on the river. And I'm like, right where we sail? So then slowly, gradually came into that.
And it is right where you sail.
Yes.
Just not very far away at all. Tell me about the U.S. Sailing Small Boat Program, that certification. You have that, right?
Yes.
Tell me
Small
about
boat,
that.
freshwater.
What are the requirements? What's that mean?
Honestly, when we started training for it, it seemed pretty like what we were doing on a regular basis because the program was advanced for or it was made for beginners. But as a second year, I had a little bit more knowledge, and so they kept pushing me, even though I've surpassed the limit. And then we went from there, and then he started doing individuals questionnaire basically. So in the morning we do a warm up, like, okay, what is this? What is this? What is this? And I have to think on the clock. And then slowly we started me sailing on my own or with one other person, and then slowly we got to the test.
And you passed.
Yes.
Was it hard by then, or did it seem easy?
It was easy, but the conditions were a little rough because it was so cold outside. It was, what, September?
Yeah, it was in September.
Yeah, it was September, and the water was freezing, and then the boat was new to me because I learned in the Flying Scot, and it was a 420.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just talking about the capsize exercise.
Yeah.
It's at the end of the certification process. And she did real well.
Yeah.
In a much more challenging situation that I think many of us standing on the shoreline would have been willing to do.
Yeah. So the capsize, you capsize after get back, right the boat and get back in?
Yes.
How do you do that?
You put your feet, or the standard way is to put your feet on the centerboard, make sure it's all the way down, and then put your hands on the rail, and it's usually you and another person, so you want to be shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip, and then you slowly just wait for the boat to come back. And as it comes back, you kind of want to push off in the middle of the boat coming back over so that it's easier to get back in.
And if the sail is cleated down,
You definitely want to uncleat it because you'll be moving before you get back in.
and the boat will just capsize again.
Yes.
Or drag you along with it.
Exactly.
So that's something to pay attention to.
Yes.
What if the centerboard's gone up inside?
Then somebody has to go under and push it back up and make sure it's locked in.
You're smiling like this is fun.
Yeah. It's because I've had a couple of experiences with,
Oh, since then?
yeah,
Real experiences.
Yes.
Not planned experiences.
right. Like a storm came in and nobody knew where it was coming from, and then all of a sudden all the boats are capsized, and then somebody needs to go under the water, uncleat everything, because when you have a jib and a mainsail, you have to make sure both are right, because if they're not both right, then you might get taken away.
Right, exactly. The Challenge the Wind program's only a couple weeks in the summer.
Yes.
And you've done it twice now.
Yes.
And then you decided that you'd go on to something a little different, kind of the next step in the progression. Tell me about that.
Yes, so from this program, I went to Bayview Yacht Club Junior Sailing, and it was a longer program, except I stuck to the 2-week program like I normally did, just to feel for it. And this was a competition-based program. It wasn't learning how to sail or introducing it or doing regular sailing. It was more, okay, if this is what you want to do, let's compete with it.
Was that fun?
Yes, it was very fun. It was eye-opening because it was my first time really being in a boat alone. I started off with the Opti as an older kid, but I was still in the weight limit. So being on the water on your own versus somebody there to guide you or to help you through it was very different.
And the Optimist is a small pram, square-ended, 9, 10 feet long, 11 feet, not sure even.
Bathtub.
One-person boat.
Right at that.
Yes.
But that's important, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because
You start to figure out the logistics for yourself and when to use them. So at the Great Haven Challenge to Wind program, it was kind of like, okay, do you notice that? And then when you notice the sails start to luff, then you either trim it in or you have to change your direction in the wind. But when you're an optimist, you kind of have that freedom to say, what happens if I go the wrong way? And then you start to learn on your own, this needs to happen when it needs to happen.
make your own decisions.
Yes.
Because there's nobody there to make them for you.
Right. You have to be
Yeah.
very precise and decisive.
And you went from the Optimist to the 420,
Yes.
and that's a 2-person boat,
Right.
but still pretty small compared to the Flying Scot,
Definitely.
and capsizes.
Yes. Even though it was smaller, I used a lot of logistics from the Flying Scot in that boat. The Challenge to Win program taught me the logistics of any boat, whether big, small, medium, or 2 floors with a bunk underneath, or if you just had the 2 sails or 1 sail, that just any logistics. But from the Flying Sky, I learned the different logistics you can use on a 420, like how the sail trims together equal out and how much you can power the boat using both sails.
You learned a lot in a short time.
Yes.
Did you enjoy in the 420, where there are 2 of you, did you spend time both crewing and acting as skipper?
I did, personally. A couple other members didn't feel so comfortable with steering the boat, but because of the experience I had in the Flying Sky, I was able to say, yeah, I know how to do that. Let me try it, and what's different about this boat.
But the physics are all the same. The logistics, as you call them, are really
Yes.
the same.
Yeah.
Did you do any sailing in keel boats?
Excuse me?
Keel boats, big boats?
One, I think it was. I can't remember the name.
You
of
went
it.
out on Harold Weaver's boat, I heard.
Yes.
Did you? Yeah, that was a
In,
skill
in,
boat.
Yeah.
in the Challenge to Win program.
Yes.
So you're doing some of that, Harry, now?
Yeah, we've sort of broadened the program a bit even more, but we've always liked to expose the kids to keel boats as a part of their introduction to sailboats. And so at the end of the program, we'll take them out on our Grey Haven Sail Club members' boats and let them experience a larger boat so they can do what Adrienne was pointing out, make the connection between a small boat, a medium-sized boat, and a big boat. Sailboats are basically the same, and the connection clicks when we do that.
Yeah, timing's a little different, the dynamics are a little different, but they're all the same.
Right.
Yes.
So worried about apparent wind and true wind and current and all of the same things. Have you thought about whether you'd like to be a sailing instructor someday?
Yes, I definitely thought about it. I don't feel comfortable teaching older kids per se, maybe like in a 420, but definitely Opties and Flying Scots, because they're so basic, I definitely look forward to coaching somebody.
You like working with younger children?
Yes.
Yeah. It's fun to watch those eyes open up as they kind of catch on,
Like, oh, this is what we do.
as you and I have done.
Yes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I appreciate all that. What was the most, how to put this, what was the most fun about making the transition from the Learn to Sail program at Challenge the Wind and going, upstream a little bit to Bayview and starting a racing program?
It wasn't necessarily the boat, it was the water. The difference in the water, like we were saying, the current, and not only the current, but the seaweed and the different things you cross paths with. Because Keys Marina is right there off the edge,
Yeah.
you can kind of see everything that's coming, and you're like, okay, it's a clear day today, let's just go over here, then gently drift down, and then come back in. But at Bayview, you had the obstruction of trees and blocks, and then it was at an awkward angle, sort of in the inside. So you had to be really careful when you went out, and the current was different.
Closer to the lake.
Yes,
Yeah.
and there were more rocks off the side than.
Now, I've watched many people be introduced to those rocks.
Yeah.
Get back to you in a moment. I want to ask Harry, though, about after a successful 2014, and I know you have a plan for growth.
Right.
Let's look ahead through the next year, 2015.
Sure.
What are your goals? What are your hopes for that year?
Yeah, we've sort of taken, like you just mentioned, in chunks for each year to say this is what we want to accomplish in the coming year, and then every year we add another element to it. 2015, we want to focus on a couple of things. Well, we obviously want to expand the program, and we're planning to add a 5th Scot. We're planning to add a couple of 420s so that we can increase the number of students that come back to the advanced sailing, sort of what we've been doing on the Scots, but let them do them on a 420. One of the things that we're really hoping to have take off is we want to grow faster than we're able to grow from an infrastructure standpoint, and so we're looking to working with some of the DRYA junior sailing member junior sailing programs to sponsor some of the participants that would come into Challenge the Wind in their programs, particularly at the early stages and the opties, as well as take some of the students similar to the path that Adrienne followed, is to move from learning how to sail on a basic platform and then moving that into a broader platform. So we're looking at creating that kind of a scholarship partnership program with some of the other clubs. And the last thing, and then Adrienne features into this one, is we're looking at trying to grow some of our own instructors from our student base and the other people that help us. And so we're looking at having the instructor certification process available to several of our students that we can then use them as instructors in the class.
When you say certificate, this is the United States Sailing
US
Association,
Sailing, yeah, right.
which is kind of the gold standard for
exactly
for instructors.
the
I know you have certified instructors now.
Right.
And
We're the certified instructors that we're using are folks that have they're closer to retirement, and some of them have actually retired, and we want to get some of the younger students and move them into that process. And so we've been talking to Adrienne and Adrienne's mom about it, as well as some others about getting them into that process.
Yeah. How can the community help
Well,
Challenge the Wind?
Yeah, that's a good question. We certainly need resources in the form of money, as well as the terror I've been on for the last couple of years is trying to get a couple of used 420s. So if anybody knows about any used 420s that they want to make available to us, we're looking for two. We'd really appreciate that. And we also accept donations. You can contact us through sending me an email.
Right. We've been displaying the email address during the time we've been talking.
Yes, and we also have several sponsors that have really been helpful, and to the extent that and perhaps we could put up a list of our sponsors and partners on the program, supporting them will help support us, and so we really like to promote our sponsors and the things that they're doing for us.
Well, sure, it's a partnership. There is a charge for the program for the kids who take part.
Right. Right.
Is one use of funds to help people who have a little more difficulty paying that fee?
Our philosophy around that is that we try to raise money to offset the cost. The cost of maintaining the boats, the staff, and the other miscellaneous charges. We can't cover that under a tuition circumstance. The participants that we have, for the most part, could not afford it. So we charge a nominal fee, and primarily that nominal fee is driven more to get some skin in the game on the part of the parents and the kids, that if they're interested enough, then they're willing to pay a nominal fee, and that tends to help assure that every morning at the start of the class, the student is there.
I get it. I get it.
And again and again.
That wouldn't be a problem with Adrienne. She was hooked in
Not at all.
You were hooked in about 3.5 minutes, right?
Yes.
What are your plans after Cass Tech? You're going to graduate in the spring.
Yes, I plan to go on to a college or university. I was looking into out of state because I want to see the different experiences and avenues that I can explore.
Yeah. You're interested in medicine as a career, you told me.
Yes, definitely interested in medicine. It took a lot of thought to come up with that because I'm like, okay, I don't like history, and I'm not necessarily a science person, but it's just because of the classes. Because when I put science to use, like in water and looking at the different fishes that you see in different places of the river and the different types of algae and seaweed, I thought I might want to do science, and so medicine came to mind.
Well, I suspect you'll do well, whatever you choose to do. Let me ask you this. Has sailing changed you? Are you a different person than you would have been otherwise, and how?
Yes. During the school year, as a senior now, it's been very tough keeping the ball rolling and making sure I got all A's and did well in the ACT and different testing and all the different scholarship opportunities that you sign up for. You want to make sure that you present a well-rounded person. And it gets very stressful, especially being in the National Honor Society, having to organize events and all these different extracurriculars, that being on the water was a sort of release and a sort of fun hobby that I could do on the side, and it wouldn't interfere with any other time that I had scheduled.
Do you think it's made you more confident in yourself?
Definitely. Being able to do what I can on the water in the boat has reassured me about the different life choices that I can make and stick to it.
So it is a transportable skill.
Yes.
If one of your friends at Cass Tech or in your neighborhood, probably younger than you, said, Adrienne, I heard about this program called Challenge the Wind. Should I enroll? What would you tell them?
Most definitely. It'll be one of the best decisions you make in your life.
Because?
You expose yourself to something new. You become a more assured, confident person because of what you experience. You learn something new that's irreplaceable.
Wow. I remember feeling that way, as I told you before we sat down here together. I learned to sail in Flying Scots when I was 29 or 30 years old. But I experienced the same thing, and isn't it one of those things you almost have to do in order to understand?
Yes, it's so hard to describe in words what I do, because when I go back to school and then I say, oh my God, we capsized yesterday and it was just the craziest thing in the world, and then they just don't understand the significance of it. Like, they think, oh, that's the most dangerous thing, I don't ever want to do it. But then when you're actually there, you're actually doing it, you get a different intake of the experience.
Thank you so much for being with us.
So thank you for having me.
I think you're going to do just fine at whatever you decide to do at Harvard or Yale or wherever you end up.
Yes.
Thanks for being with us, and keep on sailing and rowing.
Okay.
Harry, thanks for being here again. This must give you great satisfaction.
It does. When we talked about doing another program and having one of the students participate, Adrienne was the first one that came to my mind what she's talked about for obvious reasons. She typifies getting someone to come into the program that hasn't been on the water, didn't think about it, and then to go on with it. And she's a prime example of that. And so we really were happy that we could feature her on your program. So thank you.
Harry Jones, thank you. You're doing great work. I'm sure you've never had a second thought about helping to get involved with Challenge the Wind.
Right, not at all. Thank you.
If you're impressed, as I am, take a look at the website or the email address that we've been displaying on the screen and see if you can't help the Challenge the Wind sailing program at Keens Marina. It's a great program. Thanks for being with us. Thank you for being with us. We'll look for you next time right here on Great Lakes Log.